Hi Gemini, welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your November 2020 love reading. Thank you to those of you who have liked, viewed, shared, subscribed, and donated to the channel. I appreciate all of that. As far as personal readings go, I decided to take a break from those until early next year. Just wanted to give you an update there. As far as what we have in front of us, it's what I call the bridge and the gap spread, and the way it works is the cards on the left side represent your energy toward the connection with your main love interest. Cards on the right side represent their energy toward the connection. These are the past energies, present energies, future energies. Once we get through all those, we'll actually pull some oracle cards with some additional insight. That's where the bridging gap dynamic comes into play. And as far as the decks being used, on the left side we have the Lover's Path Tarot, and on the right side we have the Tarot of Sexual Magic. Also keep in mind I'm going to be referring to the cards on the left side as your energy and the cards on the right as theirs, but if you feel like that should be the other way around, then definitely trust that since it's just a general reading. Alright, so with all that out of the way, past energy on your side, we have Triumph, which is the equivalent of the World card, and the Ten of Coins. So for some of you, this can just be saying that you might have reunited with this person, possibly toward the end of Virgo season, so like let's say mid-September. But for others of you, it could just be saying that you might have gone through a victory in your personal life around that time, maybe even around career, for example, maybe something with home and family as well. But whatever the case may be, it looks like there was definitely a bit of a celebration between you and this other person. But either way, regardless of what it was, it does seem like there was some separation between the two of you, whether you guys physically lived in different locations. But yeah, it definitely looks like there was a reconnection with this person. And the past energy on their side, we have the Three of Chalices. So this is the Three of Cups, which is Cancer energy. And with this energy, especially in this deck in particular, it points to a lot of promise within the connection, seeing a lot of, obviously it's a passionate energy as well, but also seeing the room for growth within the connection. So it looks like the two of you definitely had pretty optimistic views toward the connection in the past. In the present position on your side, we have Strength. So this is actually Leo energy here. And for you guys, that is the third house of communication, which is the house you guys naturally rule. So could just be saying that you guys have a lot of confidence right now. You know, you feel passionate toward the connection. You guys feel like you're unified, moving in the same direction. Since we kind of see how that's how their body language is playing out in the card itself. So yeah, it looks like, again, a continuation of the energy that we're seeing in the past, where you guys just seem to have some confidence and also have the ability to move forward with the connection now with that fiery energy that we see with the Strength card. And I do have to say as well, given that Leo energy is the natural ruler of the fifth house, you guys are going to have Venus in your fifth house for a pretty good chunk of November, so that could be what brings this energy out of you guys as well. It might invigorate that area of your lives. All right, present energy on their side, we have the Eight of Cups and the Ten of Cups. Well, chalices in this deck, but same thing. So these are both Pisces energy here, interestingly enough. So a lot of watery energy. We have the Cancer, now we have the Pisces energy, but what stands out to me here is for some of you, this person actually might have left the connection. I feel like it might not have been a long-term thing, though. The reason why I say that is because the Eight of Cups usually represents walking away from something, you know, seeking something more fulfilling. And here, if we look at their body language, it looks like he's coming forward toward her, and she's not really very open to the idea. So that's what makes you feel like, you know, combining the energy of this deck and then with traditional tarot, does look like they might have left for whatever reason, and now they're coming back around, trying to offer something stable. But it looks like you know, may not be paying it any mind at this time. So what the Strength card could be saying in that regard, for those of you, if this is your storyline, it could just be saying that the strength in that regard is you guys standing up for yourselves. Like, yeah, you know, whatever it was that they did where they might have left, you know, you might be standing your ground. Like, all right, well, you're going to have to bring something more tangible my way in order to, you know, get things back on track. And if that's the case, it looks like they would offer that to you. So just something to keep in mind there. But yeah, definitely an interesting change in energies here. Could just be a matter of approach as well, you know, so maybe there were some adjustments that needed to take place there. Let me see if anything else comes to mind with that. And I do have to say, there's actually going to be a full moon in your 12th house right at the very end of October. So, given that this represents the present energy for a November reading, this could totally be when that happens. So, especially considering it's conjunct Uranus, so they might suddenly, maybe it's just as simple as you guys have an argument around that full moon. It's in your 12th house. There might be some misunderstandings. Mercury retrograde will still be going on at that time. And then it could come back around to fix the situation. So, the more I'm seeing it, I don't think it's going to be a major thing, but that could be exactly what it is. So, just be on the lookout for that energy. It's going to be at the very end of October. If you feel like there's a conversation starting to go off the rails, maybe you could cut it off at the pass before it escalates to that point. But yeah, it looks like it'd be a pretty temporary thing. All right, future energy on your side. We have the Ace of Arrows, which is the Ace of Swords, and the Five of Arrows, which is the Five of Swords, which is Aquarius energy here. So be careful around that too. So let's say if they do leave temporarily, or like I said, you guys had some kind of argument or something like that. I feel like what the good thing is, I feel like this Ace of Swords is saying you will already be ahead of this and actually avoid that. But what I was going to say is try to make sure that you don't end up, escalating this situation by also doing something kind of petty, because that's what always comes to mind with the Five of Arrows to me is it's that type of energy where people go into a situation knowing that nothing good's going to come out of it, but they still engage in it anyway. So, like I said, if they do something, maybe they say something out of line around the time of that full moon, try not to come back and fight fire with fire, basically. That's what I see there. But with the Ace of Arrows coming up here, I feel like this is actually saying that you will have that realization that, what, let me avoid making the situation worse, basically, you know what I mean? So that's why I see there. And especially because, like I said, if there is some kind of a situation you guys have, like I said, some kind of argument or misunderstanding with the angel figure there and then the woman holding those arrows, to me, it's like an indicator that's saying, hey, if this person comes back around, try to keep the higher ground there, right? Otherwise, that might be what Spirit's asking you to do. Because we could see he's kind of like leaving the scene with her with the five arrows, like, okay, well, if that's what you're going to engage in, we're out. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a weird message, but that's what I'm seeing there. Could just be saying, try to avoid making what could be technically a bad situation worse, but especially because I feel like it's going to be temporary. And especially because of the future energy on their side, we have the Knight of Swords. So this is actually the court card for your sign. So, I mean, like I said, for some of you, this might be your energy on the right. But either way, I feel like this is saying that they'll be coming back in to communicate. So, like I said, I feel like whatever this misunderstanding was, I feel like they'll be rushing back in to get things back on track. They might even defer to you in some way in this regard, too. Like, hey, sorry about that, whatever. So, maybe there's something underlying that I'm missing, but from what I'm seeing, it doesn't need to be anything that needs to be a big blow up. Like, I definitely see a solid foundation here in the past. And yes, like I said, this energy in the present does seem a bit weird, quite frankly. Like, okay, won't they like leave and then come back around all of a sudden? But all within the present, which gives me the impression that it's going to be a very temporary thing if they do leave. So, like I said, keep in mind we have the retrograde energy, and that full moon is going to be pretty hectic, considering it's conjunct Uranus. So, someone might say or do something completely out of sorts. Or on top of that, since it's in your 12th house, you might hear something the wrong way, and then it just might blow up into this whole big mess when it doesn't need to. So just keep that in mind. But I will say this definitely looks like whatever this is with them disappearing temporarily, it looks like they'll be back around pretty quickly. So, and like I said, it looks like the guidance here is saying for you to avoid making a Five of Swords situation out of it, which is always pretty good advice, I would say. That's one of the cards that I always kind of roll my eyes when I see it, but that's just me. All right. Anyway, bottom of the deck on your side, we have the Ace of Wands. So there's definitely the desire on your part to start something fresh. And this could even be pointing to the fact that you guys had, well, you still have all those heavy planets in your 8th house, right? Which is intimacy. And they finally started moving direct, which is helpful. And then, like I said, you're going to have Venus in your fifth house for a good part of the month. So this definitely has the potential to be a really good month as far as romance, love, and romance goes. So, like I said, just try not to let that little thing derail the whole situation. Like I said, I really don't know what's going on as far as what causes him to leave temporarily. So that's why I feel like it's really just going to be a retrograde misunderstanding type situation. And it looks like it'll be pretty short lived, too. And interestingly enough, beneath that we have the Prince of Cups too. So definitely looks like there's still some love underneath it all. So if you can, try to avoid like turn it into a big thing. Bottom of the deck on their side, we have the Seven of Wands. So this is another energy here that points out to me that yeah, whatever this was about, looks like they'll come back around to stand their ground and defend themselves around what it was. And it looks like they'll be able to successfully do so. So, like I said, I feel like it's just a minor misunderstanding that has the potential to blow up with the astrological energies we have at play. But hopefully, hearing this at a time, you'd be like, all right, cool, let me try not to make bad worse, you know? And then beneath that, we have the Hierophant on their side. So, definitely looks like there's a desire to be together on both sides. So let's see what we get from the Oracle cards next. First, we have the Aqua Moonlight deck, and I actually pre-shuffled this deck before I started recording. And what I'm going to be looking for here is just some jumpers. I'm going to be looking for any unspoken messages from you to them, and then from them to you. And if after shuffling for a while nothing comes up, I'll just take that as a sign to move on to the next deck, since it's just a general reading, but sometimes we get extra messages here. So like I said, first we'll be looking for unspoken messages from you to them. Almost have one there. Alright, nothing come up here, but I'll give it a few more shuffles. See if we get anything. Alright, yes, nothing there. So next we'll see if we get any unspoken messages from them to you. Alright, nothing coming up here either, but I'll give it a few more shuffles before we move on. Alright, yep, nothing there either. So we'll move on to the Wisdom of the Oracle deck, and same situation as far as I did pre-shuffle this deck, but here I'm just going to be looking for one card with general advice, and then we'll wrap up. Alright. Alright, nothing coming up yet, so I'll give it a few more shuffles. In worst case, I'll just put the deck down and we'll pull a random card. Alright, yeah, let me just put the deck down. And give me a few seconds to tune in and we'll just pull a card. Alright. Here we go. We have Never Ending Story. There's the artwork, and the number is 37. So, let's see what we get. Definitely sounds like a retrograde theme before we even read the messages. It says self-criticism, the wounded ego, unnecessary dramas. So, at the very least, unnecessary dramas is, like I said, looking at that Five of Swords. Although, like I said, for most of you, it looks like you're going to come to that realization that, you know what, let me not go there and make a situation worse. And like I said, it looks like it's just a minor thing on their side anyway, but we'll see what else it says. It says there is a story woven through the imperfect fabric of life that tells of hurt and loss, rejection and humiliation, self-loathing and arrogance, and all manner of suffering born of unnecessary dramas. It is the old story whose refrain is that you cannot do this, must not go there, should not say that, lest your world come tumbling down. Today, know that none of this is actually true. The sky is not falling. The voice you hear is just a small, scared, conditioned part of you that got stuck in a lie, wants to protect you, and needs to be seen as a victim. Love that lost piece of you. Fear is all it knows. Distorted guidance is preventing you from being true to yourself. You are not your story, and the narrator is simply the voice of your fearful part, small and vulnerable and easily soothed. So an interesting message there, and that definitely continues to resonate with me with the five of arrows energy we see there primarily. And to be fair, like I said, with that Eight of Cups energy perhaps as well on their side, given that they come right back with the Ten of Cups. The relationship message says sometimes your heart enters into a contract with another that results in pain, not because of abuse or neglect, but for other, more complex reasons. Shame, fear of intimacy, and low self-esteem are the greatest challenges to the success of a relationship. Consider how valuable this knowledge is, however. Right now, you have an opportunity for important healing, but you must reflect on the stories you weave about love, connection, abandonment, rejection, and loneliness. Not only do you need to begin a new story, you need to forgive yourself for telling yourself the old ones. Have compassion for the part of you that believes all those narratives. None of them were ever true anyway. So definitely an interesting message there, and that almost makes me think more of like the Triumph card, right? Where like you learn lessons through the connection. Like I said, whatever this situation is, it really does. The energy I kept feeling with it was that it's just something minor, and then I thought of, like I said, the fact we have the retrograde, and then also that full moon is going to be pretty intense. So, like I said, if you guys can avoid overreacting around that, not to say that they're blameless, obviously. It looks like they are doing something that's a bit odd, but, if you could avoid blowing it up into a bigger issue, let's say, looks like it'll be a relatively minor thing, and you guys get right back on track. So, hopefully that resonated with you guys. We'll wrap up there, and I'll see you all next month. All right, bye.